Hi, I'm Bart Hanson, the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description. Thank you.
First time caller. I'm playing a 1-3 400 cap. I'm 200. There's two villains. I'm 200 effective with V1 and 400 effective with V2. V1 is an old man coffee I've played with before. He's got some skills. He's been doing it for a while. He can mix it up a bit.
Okay.
That's V1. V2 I've never played with before. He just sat down. He's 30-something, seems like a solid reg, and he just bought the button, and now he's straddling on the button, and I'm under the gun. No, I'm big blind, second to act.
So this
because
is
of the button straddle.
1-2 400 cap, but there's a straddle on the button?
Yeah, 1-3 400 cap.
1-3
so $6 straddle on the button.
Okay.
Yeah.
So button straddle is 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Small blind folds. I got 2 6s. I opened for 25. I don't always open with those small pairs there, but you know, mixing them with
yeah.
them.
I mean,
So
just a quick thing, because I played an interesting hand last night at the bike where there was a button straddle and I was in the small blind. I mean, if you're playing a full ring game, the ranges first to act in the blind are actually even tight. Like if you were playing like 10% of your hands from under the gun, you're probably only supposed to play like 6% of your hands from the small blind. You know what I mean? Like it's very tight, very, very tight. I don't know if you usually open small pairs from up front.
I don't usually. Like I like to mix them in every once in a while, just so if I'm limping with mid pairs, it's not so easy to be picked off as a mid pair.
Right. So you open at 25.
So open at 25,
Yep.
I get 5 callers, which is pretty standard.
Well, see, this is sort of, I don't know, like, yeah, this is sort of, I mean, if that's standard, but like, I think in a straddle pot, to be honest with you, I think the adjustment that I would make here if it was a loose passive game is I would limp this hand. Because unless people are going to attack the straddle, it doesn't sound like that's the type of game. If you're going to get 4 or 5 callers, there's no way for you to win this hand but hit your hand. So what's the point in raising and building this pot up from out of position when you can get the money in anyways? It's a cap scenario. This is a spot where I would probably limp, because a lot of people will tighten up here in straddle pots. So a lot of people will over limp hands that they would normally raise with in a non-straddled pot. So I think this is a really good spot to limp. But
makes sense. Are you calling a raise if you limp at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who, and it depends on how much, and it depends on what's going on. I mean, there are cases where, like, you could limp and another guy limps and somebody makes it 100, and you could just fold, limp fold.
Yeah.
At that point, I would probably
sure.
be looking at relative stack sizes. But it seems like with this setup and configuration, limping can't be that bad. Also, too, like, you could probably come up with a strategy of limping some hands on a button straddle in the blinds that are very, very strong, just because you're such at a positional disadvantage. I bet you that wouldn't even be that bad of a play. And I'm not talking necessarily like trying to approach a limp re-raise, but you could limp probably very strong hands, because remember, like, you're playing such a tight range from up front. But anyways, you make it 25, 5 people call.
5 people call.
Yeah.
And so the flop is 6, 9, 3, all clubs.
So the flop is 6 of clubs, 9 of clubs, 3 of clubs. So you got middle set, right?
Yeah.
And I can see that this is already going to get dicey because your stack's probably, you only got about 2 pot size bets left. Yeah.
So pot's 125, and there's 5 players including me. So I bet out 105. Thinking get value from flush draws, possibly action from bigger pairs, and
I can tell you, I'm not on this particular board. I think that's probably too big, and the reason why is because of the texture. Like, it would be different if the board was like ace 6-3 all clubs, ace, or like ace king 6 all clubs, where people are going to be calling you with pair plus flush draws, Broadway straight draws plus flush draws. But on a 9 high board, what are you trying to get called by here when you bet out like full pot? I mean, I'm asking you.
Yeah, no, I see your point. I guess I'm thinking of 2 big overs with a club.
two big overs with a club, but I mean that's a pretty narrow. I mean, I would imagine that somebody who's even like next to act can't really call with the king of clubs, like king jack offsuit or something. Remember, you raised from. I'm not saying that people are necessarily paying attention to where you raised from, but in
Yeah.
theory, people really shouldn't have offsuit broadways here when you raise. I know that's not the case at 1-3, but what I'm
Right.
saying is that if you bet and somebody's next to act with like king queen with the king of clubs, like are they gonna call? I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Like the only thing I can see you getting called here by is the ace of clubs. That's why I would probably bet smaller here. It's just yes, a club could run off, but you're really putting people in a ridiculously tough spot when you make this sizing on this flop.
I
Because
guess
no,
part of my thinking was I totally agree with what you're saying. I just the factor of it being multi-way and all of a sudden starting this calling trend around and then being in some weird spot where I guess I'm just overthinking that point.
I would just say that
You want
I would look at the texture of the board. I mean, yes, you flop middle set. Yes, it's a monotone board. So you've got a strong hand, but not the nut hand. But there's got to be multiple sizing on monotone boards. Not all monotone boards are going to be the same. And like I said, I wouldn't
yeah
mind taking a larger sizing on a Broadway monotone board, where people
yeah
are apt to hit two pair flush draws and Broadway gut shots. But I don't really see a whole lot that's really going to call you here. I mean, you eights with
right
the eight of clubs isn't going to call you, right? I
you're
mean,
right
maybe the last guy in the field is going to be able to call you a little bit lighter, but you've got five people. So, I mean, if you say, hey, I bet out 105, what are the first two guys with three people left to act behind you going to be able to call you with? They almost can't call
yeah
you with
right
anything.
with the nuts pretty much that's yeah
Maybe like ace queen with the ace of clubs, maybe.
yeah
But I mean, I got to be
yeah
honest with you, like with your bet size and with these stack sizes, if I had called you, say like UTG with ace of clubs like queen, and you bet 105, you could make the case for folding with four people left behind you. Um, I mean, it would be pretty close, but I'm just saying that's the problem with this bet size. But anyways, you make it 105.
So make it 1-5. V1 semi tank calls. His 95
And
left
and,
after.
and where is he again?
He's like MP1 probably.
Okay.
And then button tank calls.
So now the pot is like what 440, 430,
440,
and
yeah,
you have
right around
what
there.
250 left.
I think I have them covered, but the V2
Yeah.
has like about 300 left, 295 left, I guess.
Okay.
Right
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah. 105 and 25. Would you say? I thought you said you started with 400.
Little less.
But
Yeah, about that. So somewhere between 275 and 300 left, yes.
okay.
So it turns king of diamonds, and this is the point where I was calling in. This decision here is I think I did this reactive, just shove it, just I had a set shove moment, and so I push all in thinking I have button covered. The other stack is not really all that relevant. I got to imagine if he called the flop, he's calling the turn with whatever holding he has.
How much did you say that V1 had again?
He started ahead with 200. He has 95 going to the turn.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm very, very concerned. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you had made a more standard bet on the flop or a smaller bet on this particular texture, by the way, so so if you had made a more standard, like smaller bet on this type of texture on a ragged, low monotone board, they could have like a lot of hands. But when you bet 105 for the same reason that I just went on that diatribe of how strong that is, and then two people call you, flop like this guy in mid and now on the turn, I think the guy in middle position, the guy on the button, I would be very, very concerned to the point where I would say that you probably don't have the best hand. Now, I don't think I have that big of a problem with you just sort of shoving, and this sounds like a call where it's going where somebody flopped the flush. I'm looking into the future. I would never put myself in this spot, though, using this sizing. And if you kind of transported me to the turn in your hand, I would actually say check and evaluate the turn because I think you're actually already beat, which just goes to show you how important it is with sizing and to pay attention to sizing and to pay attention to action. So you move all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 95 V1 calls, V2 tanks, and ultimately folds. So I'm up against the flop nut flush with V1 and then
Yeah.
some other holding for V2. So my question then becomes in this spot. I'm going to lower it down and I don't find myself in this spot in the first place. Lower the bet on the flop. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
As played in this spot, is there consideration to check or bet smaller in the hopes of building a side pot with the button?
I mean, you have less than a pot size bet left, right? I mean, the pot's like 450
Yeah,
and you've got like 280 left. No, I would just bet. I
yeah,
mean, at
you
that
just
point,
can.
yeah, I mean, at that point, there's really, especially whenever your hand is vulnerable in any way, I don't really see the point. But thanks for the call. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA100. Click on the link right there.